It was. Wishful thinking.
Yeah, it's three.
We've decided we're going to start over from the beginning.
All right. We're on, right? It is 12:01. We will reconvene into open session. Is there a motion from the executive session to appoint a committee to explore options available for land acquisition?
No motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Martin. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, now we move to item number 17. Discuss, consider historical commission grant awarded to Zandt County for full restoration of county courthouse. Consider acceptance, rejection, or request an extension of the deadline to November 21st, 2025 for the funding agreement.
Judge, I know you just read that off. Before we get into it, do we need to actually name that committee now?
Yeah, so that's just to say.
Okay.
It's gonna be Kenny Edwards, Tonda Curry, Joe Carter, Keith Pearson, Brandon Barton, and Chris Martin.
We also consider Kevin Bridger. The future date.
Is that,
No, I recognize that.
can you do that? Yeah, put Kevin on there.
All right, so that need to be part of the motion. All right, so the motion is now to appoint a committee to explore options available for land acquisition, and that committee would be composed of Kenny Edwards, Tonda Curry, Joe Carter, Keith Pearson, Brandon Barton, Chris Martin, and Kevin Bridger.
Yes, sir.
All right,
I would amend my second.
all right, and Brandon made the motion and Commissioner Williams made the second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. All right, item number 17, discuss and consider Texas Historical Commission grant award to Zandt County for full restoration of county courthouse. Consider acceptance, rejection, or request for extension of deadline to November 21st, 2025 for the funding agreement. The grant was awarded on, I believe it was July 26th, and we have 90 days to get back to them with an answer. And those are the three answers we have: accept, reject, or request an extension for the grant of $9.5 million. So what is the pleasure of the court? The extension would give us an opportunity to get further cost estimates on one of the relocation costs, on the cost to do additional work on the 4th and 5th floors in that regard, and to get add that to the existing estimates.
I'd make a motion to request an extension of time to the deadline of November 21, 2025 for the funding, for the acceptance of the funding agreement.
All right, there is a motion. Is there a second? Well, I will second it. Is there any discussion? And again, this does not commit the county to anything. it commits me to, putting forth a complete package of what the, projected costs are going to be. That's all it's going to do.
Can I ask how you plan on funding this?
Funding what?
The county's cost? What the historical commission doesn't pay?
Well, that's, I believe what we are doing is figuring out what the total cost is to whether or not we want to move forward. So, move forward with consideration of funding. If we don't, is the purpose of the extension.
So you don't have any idea how you're gonna fund it?
No,
Whatever.
not at this time, no. That could be part of the presentation when we get to the total cost.
I'd like to, if it is approved, that I don't know how to do this legally, but it needs to go to a bond election. No questions.
Okay. The bond election for the amount that the grant doesn't cover. Is that what you're saying?
If the commissioner, if the numbers come up, it has to go to a bond election. If the court approves it to go that far.
And you want that part of the motion?
I think that needs to be in there.
Are you willing to amend your motion?
I would, I said, in prior discussions related to the courthouse, and the courthouse renovation that, I have no interest in foreclosing the ability of the people to speak to the renovation of the courthouse or any of the other business that we do here. That's not routine business. And so I have no problem amending my motion that we could extend this with our eye toward a bond election related to the overages that are not covered, which would include the movement of the people and the resources here out during the renovation period. I have no problem with that.
All right. So he amended his motion and I'll amend my second. Any further discussion, any more issues you would like for us to address?
Yes, sir. It's a reimbursement grant. You're gonna have to cover the upfront too. If you only do your overage, you're not gonna cover their share of it. They reimburse.
I'm fine to amend my motion to that the bond election associated with that to cover the cost, minus any reimbursement received by the Historic Commission.
All right. Does that satisfy your concern?
No, he just worried anything over would be reimbursed. The problem is you've got to pay and spend it up front. So if you're going to spend 20 million out of your pocket and 10 million out of theirs, you got to have 30 million up front.
But the bond election that we can, that I'm proposing that we do at some point in the future, which could be would be for the entirety of the cost.
The overage
With
of the grant amount.
Well, it's going to be for the entirety of the cost, and then we would take that portion, that 9.5 million, whatever the case may be, and reduce the size of the borrowed funds on the bond
When it's reimbursed.
when it's reimbursed. But the people would have the opportunity to know exactly what the full cost and what they would be getting for their investment before they made the decision to move forward or not. And I believe that we owe it on a project of this size or any other projects, we owe it to the people to have the opportunity to have input, especially with something that's so critical to our future.
Okay, would you rephrase the restated motion now?
The restated motion is that I would ask for a request for extension of the deadline to respond to the Texas Historic Commission grant award to November 21, 2025, with the caveat that we prepare a bond election to cover the renovation, knowing that we're going to be receiving some portion of the renovation back from the Texas Historic Commission.
So you're talking, okay.
Sure.
Think you jumped through all the legal hoops required to say that there will be a bond election? How about if you amend your motion again to say that the motion cannot be passed? In the future, the bond cannot be accepted without the grant cannot be accepted without a bond election.
Yeah, that's fair. I would ask that we simply ask them to allow us to extend the deadline to November 21 of 2025. And then what District Attorney Curry said.
Cannot,
The understanding that the grant cannot be accepted
Without
without a bond.
a
Okay.
bond election.
I got one question. If this passes today for extension, how does this benefit the taxpayers of Van Zandt County?
one, it gives them the opportunity to see what the true cost, a better estimate of what the true
No,
cost would be.
What if the courthouse restoration grant passes, say in a bond, how does restoring the courthouse benefit the taxpayers of Van Zandt County?
It benefits them because this 87-year-old building hasn't had major work done to it other than the roof in at least 30 to 50 years. And there are areas that need immediate attention.
And I would also add that there are taxpayers that work in this building that should be afforded the same luxury of adequate work environment. So I don't think that we should just summarily dismiss those people who are working here, who are taxpayers here in Van Zandt County either.
Ms. Donovan.
And we
Could-
heard some taxpayers say,
There were several.
Ms. Donovan, at a later date, could a court come in and vote to remove that requirement of a bond election before the second?
We would have to vote
Mm-hmm.
to approve the bond election, correct?
but you haven't done everything legally required to do that.
Right, but in the future.
Yes, okay. Pretty much everything that the court does can be undone at some point in the future, if my understanding is correct. So the motion is, as I understand it, requesting extension of the deadline to November 21st, 2025 for a funding agreement with the bond election to cover with the understanding that the grant cannot be accepted without a bond election. Oops, I got bond election.
Yeah. That's my understanding.
With the understanding that the renovation grant cannot be accepted without a bond election. That is the motion. Revised motion, correct?
That is correct. And I would add that as it relates to this issue that I will not modify from my position.
All right. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, we have,
I
are
haven't
there-
voted yet.
And neither.
I have not voted.
are you abstaining?
No, I'm gonna vote, but I sure ain't voted, I sure ain't voted for it yet. I vote against it.
All right. We've got Commissioner Williams voting for, Commissioner Pearson voting against. When the other commissioners would like to state what their positions are, I will write them down.
Well, my first meeting, I was asked about this same subject. And I was brand new and all I knew was at some point in time it would lead to increased taxes and I voted no. I've got a lot more information on it now than I had then. And the circumstances haven't changed other than dollar amounts. The amount of the grant went up, but the expense matched it. So you're back in the same boat. Just further down the road. I didn't vote for it coming into this position. Now here I'm getting ready to go out. I can't see me voting for it here. So I'm voting no.
Okay. So Commissioner Barton,
I do think the people ought to have a choice, but also think there's more pertinent issues going on. And I don't think this county has the funds. I know this county doesn't have the funds to do them both. And I think one's more important than the other. So I'll vote no.
okay. So a motion passes. So by the motion fails, which means that we will we have rejected the grant for the since we did not request an extension, we are rejecting the grant.
Well, not necessarily. You can't get any information back any time quicker to give us any more better numbers on the cost of this.
You have to give them an answer by Friday. So, I mean,
There's nothing says you gotta extend it for a year, Cliff.
I don't think that it's wise, considering the things that we've discussed so far, to consider putting it on a bond election at the same time as the jail. Unless you want to take that kind of a risk. Now, there's.
It's a moot point. We voted and
We
it failed.
we failed on the extension.
For November.
On the motion that
1st.
was, on the motion that was on the floor.
Okay, well, that's the only vote we have for this item. So if we don't pass an extension by default.
You're exactly right, because you stated in the agenda that it was an extension for a year, so we can't change that because we didn't post it that way. If you put it on there that would to grant an extension, we might have granted an extension for a month so we could get some better figures. But it's.
No, you didn't have to accept this extension. You could have changed it in your motion. You could have changed it to any date. It's not just because I put November 21st in.
You can't, no, sir, you can't, it's the only thing we can discuss is an extension to November of next year. You're correct, I didn't think about that. I thought we might have could have extended it for 30 days, but we can't do that because that's not the way it was posted on the agenda. It was, the only thing we can consider is a 1 year extension. That was my mistake there, I apologize.
All right, is there anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
I vote aye if you don't call for a vote.
Oh, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. We're adjourned.
Under one of the items on the agenda today was a quick claim deed, basically giving an easement back to adjacent property owner.
Yes.
Jackson.
You're selling.
Yeah.
And they had that motion with no deed place on, so they was going to be some.
They, Keith asked to table it. Were you